After discovering that 50 Cent was preparing a documentary on him, T.I. decided to leak humiliating footage of Boosie. And now Boosie is fretting. Some of this footage is due to be revealed in the documentary, and it's shocking enough that it could seriously damage his career. To comprehend how we got to a point where T.I. is allegedly sending footage of Boosie to 50 Cent, we have to start with the war between T.I. and 50 Cent in 2026. These two have had tension dating back nearly 2 decades. The beef first began way back in 2006 when both rappers were at their zenith. 50 was the star of G-Unit, and T.I. was the self-proclaimed king of the South, and the tension began to appear in a competitive manner with sneak disses. But for years there was an uneasy truce that changed in February 2026. The T.I. and 50 Cent feud was reignited during Super Bowl weekend when Tip called out 50 for ducking him in a versus combat while talking to Nightcap. Then on $1 Million Worth of Game, T.I. suggested that the two had agreed on a versus battle, with the idea being that Tip would disclose the news. He claimed on the pod hosted by Gilly D. Kid and Wallow that 50 went back on the plan, playing dumb when the What You Know rapper revealed the news. That was the match that ignited the fuse. T was telling the world that 50 Cent agreed to do something, then backed out and feigned it never happened. For a man like T, who has built a career on the notion that he does not back down, that was enough to go to war. 50 formally entered the chat shortly after T.I.'s appearance on $1 Million began circulating. The King rapper finally got what he desired. A response from 50. Tip, though, might have forgotten to compute that the Queen's rapper can get rather nasty on social media. And nasty is precisely what it got. Fifth uploaded 2 photos to his Instagram account. The first is a rather disparaging photo of his wife, Tiny Harris. Alongside the caption, "Keep my name out of your mouth." In a second post, he compared T.I.'s son, King Harris, to Pepe the Frog. Now, you have to comprehend something about 50 Cent. He does not engage the same way other rappers do. He does not always go to the studio and set down a verse. He teases. He posts parodies. He takes jabs at people's families. He makes it personal in a manner that goes beyond bars on a track. And when he posted that photo of Tiny Harris, it crossed a line that T.I. had not anticipated. T.I. dragged his beef with 50 Cent right into the studio. The Atlanta rapper did not just fire off one composition. T has now released 4 compositions. War is the correct one to learn lessons from, and What a Bully, while his sons, King Harris and Damani Harris, have also jumped in. This was not a casual exchange. This was a comprehensive campaign. T was treating 50 Cent the way he treats everything, with utmost force. On the right one, T calls 50 a 5-0 dispatcher, essentially branding him a snitch and clowning him as a keyboard warrior who's tough online but nowhere else. T.I. kept the pressure on with his third entry Teachings, which online commentators and rap critics described as one of his strongest performances in years. Tip sounded sincerely hungry and reinvigorated. His fourth discomposition, What Bully, targeted 50 Cent's online tough guy image versus his apparent reluctance to confront real-world consequences. DJ academics drew direct comparisons to the Drake versus Kendrick Lamar dispute, cementing this as one of the defining rivalries of 2026. But while T.I. was in the studio, the concern on everybody's mind was whether 50 Cent would pick up a mic. So far, 50 Cent has not responded with music. His approach has been exclusively social media-based, posting memes, jokes, and targeted images aimed at T.I. and his family. And that is what made everything worse. Because when 50 Cent does not respond with music, he responds with something else. Something that for some individuals hits harder than any diss track ever could. Content, documentaries, footage. And that brings us to how 50 Cent took this from a rap beef to something much larger. Before we get to the footage in the documentary, we have to speak about King Harris, because King's involvement in this beef is what pushed everything to a level that even T.I. himself admitted he did not want. 50 Cent did just that, and is now receiving heat from King Harris, the 21-year-old son of T.I. and Tiny. On Sunday, February 22nd, the rising rapper took to his Instagram stories with an explicit, exploitative-laced diatribe after the 50-year-old mogul shared an unflattering photo of Tiny amid his escalating online feud with T.I. King was not about to let someone disparage his mother on the internet without saying something. And what he said was forthright. King said to the camera, referencing 50 Cent's mother, Sabrina Jackson, who died in 1983. He told 50 Cent that his mother was deceased and to go dig her up. That is a quote from King Harris directed at a man whose mother passed away when he was 8 years old. That alone would have been enough to create a firestorm. But King did not stop there. King Harris entered the fray with Made Man, his initial salvo in the conflict. Then came a second recording. T and Tiny's son King released a second 50 Cent diss track titled Solace. The track explicitly addresses 50 Cent's social media behavior toward Tiny Harris, with King opening by declaring unconditional loyalty to his mother regardless of consequences. But the moment that truly sent shock vibrations through the internet was the T-shirt. King Harris responded by donning a T-shirt bearing the image of 50 Cent's late mother, Sabrina Jackson, who passed away in an apartment fire when 50 was just 8 years old. Rick Ross, who's also not a fan of 50 Cent, hopped in the comments and wrote, "Need that T and a 3X, little bro." So Rick Ross was co-signing the shirt. The internet was divided. Some people said King was defending his family. Others said he went too far by mocking a dead woman. T himself acknowledged this. The trap pioneer admitted that he felt things went too far in his war with 50 Cent when King Harris posted a photo of himself wearing a Rick Ross-approved T-shirt featuring 50's late mother, who passed away when he was just 8 years old. During an interview on the Ebro Laura Rosenberg show, T.I. was asked about his sons jumping into the beef. "No, I don't enjoy it." He said, "I spent so much time trying to get this Lil off the ledge. Now he is justifiable means to undo all of the teaching that I've been doing." T broke down his feelings in the interview with more context. "I'm a logical, reasonable man of respect. I raise my children to be men of respect. Logical, reasonable, and not to be emotional. But when someone posts an unflattering photo of your mother on Instagram for millions to see, logic and reason go out the window." T understood that. He understood why his sons reacted the way they did, but he also recognized the line that was crossed. T said, "This is enough. When I saw that damn T-shirt, I said, chill out, buddy. I'm huge on treating people the way I want to be treated. I'm not out here just doing unto others in ways I don't want to be dealt with. They're like, this is in response. It's over with. Let the S go, buddy." The most polarizing moment of the beef came from T.I.'s eldest son, Demony Harris, 24, who dropped a near 4-minute diss track entitled Miss Jackson, sampling Outkast's iconic 2000 hit of the same name. Posted to Instagram. The track addresses 50 Cent's late mother explicitly. The track continues with thinly veiled threats, with Demony asking Sabrina whether she is happy with how her son has been carrying her family name. Reaction was split. Some praised the boldness, others felt it crossed the line. When 50 posted 50 photos dissing T.I.'s wife, Tiny Harris, their children, King Harris and Demony, stepped up to defend their mother while releasing explosive diss tracks targeting 50 and making the feud a family affair. And then something happened that nobody quite expected. As of March 2nd, 2026, in a surprising move, 50 Cent deleted all the negative posts he had directed at T.I. He scrubbed his social media. He went quiet. But as we have seen with 50 Cent, quiet does not mean completed. Quiet means he is working on something. And what he was working on was far more damaging than any meme or Instagram post. 50 Cent does not just win beefs with bars. He wins them with business moves. And his biggest weapon in recent years has not been a microphone. It has been a camera. Sean Combs. The Reckoning is an American television documentary miniseries about the sexual misconduct allegations against rapper Sean Diddy Combs. Directed by Alexandria Stapleton. The series was released on Netflix on December 2nd, 2025. 50 Cent executive produced the entire thing. On December 7th, 2023, executive producer Curtis 50 Cent Jackson announced that he was developing a Sean Combs docuseries and that proceeds from the project would go to victims of the sexual misconduct allegations against Combs. This was not a side project. This was a full-scale production that became one of the biggest releases of the year. In the 6 days after its release, the the series was viewed 21.8 million times, making it the second most viewed Netflix title during the week of December 48, 2025, after Volume 1 of the 5th season of Stranger Things. That is the kind of reach 50 Cent now has. He is not just a rapper. He is a media mogul who can put together a 4-part documentary, get it distributed on the biggest streaming platform in the world, and have tens of millions of people watch it within a week. The documentary included footage that Diddy himself did not know was being used. Diddy's videographer squashed online rumors of there being a fee dispute or contract issue, instead claiming 50 Cent and the director seemingly wound up with the footage because he hired a freelancer to briefly fill in. Combs was seemingly caught off guard that Netflix had obtained the footage, with his team sending a cease and desist letter to Netflix before the documentary aired. After the Diddy documentary, 50 Cent revealed there was still more content that never made it to air. After the massive success of Sean Combs' The Reckoning on Netflix, executive producer Curtis 50 Cent Jackson revealed there are still 140-plus hours of unreleased footage that didn't make the 4-part docuseries. On The Sherri Shepherd Show, 50 teased the release of raw clips directly to YouTube, or "I'll just put it on YouTube," he said with a smirk when asked about a possible second season. So when 50 Cent went quiet in his beef with T.I. in early March 2026, people who have been watching his moves knew precisely what was coming. A man who just executive produced the most talked about documentary of 2025 does not just vanish from a beef. He repositions, and that is exactly what happened. 50 Cent has suggested that he's working on another documentary series, and this time it will be concentrated on the sexual abuse allegations against T.I. and his wife, Tiny Harris. In a now-removed post on Instagram, he put up a snapshot of a news story titled 50 Cent reportedly developing Surviving T.I. and Tiny documentary. The caption on that post was calculated. "Remember how silent I got before the Diddy do? Dame thought I wasn't coming," he wrote, referring to the Diddy Netflix docuseries he executive produced, Sean Combs' The Reckoning. "I pray this doesn't mess up your promo tour. They're going to ask about your 20 sexual assault cases." He concluded the post with advice. T.I. might want to speak to a crisis PR person. Now 50 Cent deleted the post. He always deletes the post. That is part of his strategy. He places something out there, lets it circulate, lets the screenshots go everywhere, and then removes it. The damage is already done. The conversation has already begun. And the brilliance of it from the 50's perspective is that he can always claim he was just joking. He was just teasing. He never affirmed anything, but everybody saw it. On March 5th, the New York rapper and producer shared a now-removed Instagram post that included a screenshot of a news headline claiming he was behind a project titled Surviving T.I. The rumored documentary was characterized as an investigative-style project, similar to the documentary series 50 previously produced about Sean Diddy Combs. Instead of confirming whether the project is actually in development, 50 used the post caption to reference how he managed the rollout of the earlier documentary. And this is the context in which the notion of T.I. sending footage of Boosie to 50 Cent lives arose. Because if 50 Cent is building a documentary, he requires content. He requires footage. He requires people willing to talk. And in hip-hop, when you have adversaries, there is always someone willing to provide ammunition. To understand why T and Boosie's relationship is pertinent to this 50C documentary situation, you need to understand the history between them. Because T and Boosie were not always adversaries. They were collaborators. They were contemplating a joint album. They were doing business together. The breakdown began in February 2023. T and Boosie Beataz first bumped heads after Boosie lashed out at T during an appearance on Vlad TV. After being made aware of recent quotes from T.I., alleging he once cooperated against his dead relative in order to receive a lesser penalty for a crime, Boosie deemed T a rodent for snitching and announced that the collaborative album the two had been working on would no longer be released. The whole affair was rooted in a story T.I. told on his own podcast. Boosie accused T of snitching on his deceased cousin Toot. The claim surfaced because of a 2020 episode of his Expedition show in which he spoke about a 2000 incident that led to a firearm charge. His lawyer offered to make everything go away if he pinned the weapon on Toot, who was murdered in the midst of the trial. On Vlad TV, Boosie spelt it out clearly. When Vlad brought up a clip of T admitting he snitched on his deceased cousin, it spurred Boosie to go off about cooperating with law enforcement. Boosie said that if T did what he described, he was a criminal. Boosie stated, "Because if you're doing anything wrong, if you're doing anything criminal, and you cooperate with law enforcement to get you out of trouble, that means you're cooperating. That means you're a rat." And then Boosie dropped the hammer on the album. He said he could not release a collaborative project with someone he now regarded as a cooperator. The internet erupted. People chose sides. The discussion dominated hip-hop media for weeks. But the dispute between T and Boosie had layers beyond the snitching claims. Earlier, there was tension over childcare. Boosie was in utter disbelief and criticized T for bringing his daughter to a gynecologist to check if her hymen was still intact. Boosie argued that T was being too controlling and invasive and that he should respect his daughter's privacy. T defended his actions and claimed he was a responsible parent and that Boosie should mind his own business. Then it got to the insult track phase. T released a slander track called F More Boosie, in which he called out Boosie for his disrespect towards him and his family. Boosie responded with his own diss track, Ain't Sealed, in which he accused T of being fake and not living up to his own principles. Boosie released another diss track dubbed T.I. is a Snitch, accusing T of cooperating with the police in a previous legal case. T responded by inviting Boosie to come see his legal documentation in person. At a comedy performance, he said, "Let a motherfitter know that the paperwork was present. I've been waiting on one special invited guest to show up, but he hasn't shown up yet. But he isn't here to see my paperwork. So come on, if you've got something to say, I want to see who wants to see. You hear me?" The back and forth continued on social media and in interviews until the two eventually spoke on the phone and resolved it. Boosie revealed he apologized to T.I., as the pair of rappers have buried the hatchet over their brief dispute. The Baton Rouge legend joined Vlad TV once again for another explosive interview where he explained the two managed the spat like bosses after a phone conversation. Boosie explained, "He filled me in, and I failed him. I gave him an apology because after we kept going back and forth about the things he was doing for me in my life at the time, I kind of felt terrible. He was doing some real assisting me in a lot of ways." He still told T.I. he stands on what he stands on, but said the story that got them in the beef in the first place was embellished, and they were able to talk it out so they couldn't let the internet win. On Sunday, April 9, 2023, a photo of Tip and Boosie surfaced on social media, leading many to believe that they had put their differences behind them. T.I., who spoke with TMZ, said there is no bad blood between the two and that the whole situation originated from a misunderstanding. So on paper, T.I. and Boosie squashed their dispute. But in hip-hop, squash does not always mean forgotten. And 50 Cent has an aptitude for digging up footage, sound bites, and clips from beefs that people believed were over. That is the connective tissue in this entire narrative. 50 Cent does not need additional footage. He has the internet. He has archives. He has recordings of Boosie calling T a rat. He has clips of T telling tales on his own podcast that gave Boosie ammunition. And the reverse is also true. During the T and Boosie dispute, T had things to say about Boosie. He was not silent. He called Boosie out publicly. He had footage of himself challenging Boosie to show up and look at documentation. All of that content exists. All of it is searchable. All of it is available to anyone who wishes to use it. So, here we are. 50 Cent is promoting a documentary about T.I. and Tiny. T and Boosie have a recorded, documented, publicly aired beef that includes Vlad TV segments, Instagram posts, diss tracks, and social media rants. And 50 Cent has a history of using the internet and publicly available footage to construct documentary content. The claim that T.I. sent footage of Boosie to 50 Cent falls into a pattern. During the T and Boosie beef, Boosie recorded himself labeling T a rat on camera. That footage went everywhere. T recorded himself at comedy performances challenging Boosie. That footage is everywhere, too. And when 50 Cent was trolling both T.I. and Boosie back in 2023, New York rapper 50 Cent stepped up to share his 2 cents on the drama between Boosie Badass and T over snitching accusations. 50 hit up his Instagram profile with a meme. The clip takes recent footage of Boosie going off on a tip for pinning a criminal charge on his deceased family member and a clip of T.I. making the significant reveal. So 50C has already shown a propensity to use Boosie's own words and footage as weapons. He did it in 2023 when T and Boosie were going at it. He used Boosie's Vlad TV clips to troll T, and he used T.I.'s own podcast footage to stir the pot further. The notion that someone, whether T.I. or anyone else, would send additional footage to 50 Cent is not far-fetched in this context. Now, what does T.I. think about the documentary? He is not running from it. T posted on Instagram, "We can go bar for bar, hit for hit, or doc for dark. Either way, all you are going to do is demonstrate how much of an FN you are." Then in another post, 50 Cent drops "Whatever you choose. Just please keep showing the world you are 8, he wrote. "And Clay, and you still haven't told us why you're in 4K, dog," pulling with the smile of a Pandora's box is a container. So good success. T is basically saying, go ahead, create your documentary. I am not frightened of it. And he even suggested he could create one of his own about 50 Cent. The doc for the doc line is a blatant reference to the Diddy documentary and a warning that if 50 Cent wants to play the documentary game, T.I. can play it too. But the reality is 50 Cent has the infrastructure. He has the Netflix relationship. Fif previously served as an executive producer on the Diddy docuseries, Sean Combs, The Reckoning. He has Gunnet film and television. He has the production credits and the track record. T.I. does not have the same documentary apparatus. So, while the threat sounds nice on Instagram, the playing field is not level. Comedian Tasha K has suggested that after the ongoing dispute, the Candy Shop rapper has turned to his TV talents, with the rapper seemingly confirming the allegation. With the success of the rapper's previous Netflix documentary, it wouldn't be out of character for 50 to turn to a documentary to expose the couple. The allegations that would be at the core of such a documentary are not minor. In a post on Instagram, 50 Cent shared a screenshot showing a headline that reported Fif is said to be developing a documentary about the married couple who have been accused of sexual misconduct by more than 30 women. In 2021, Sabrina Peterson alleged that T.I. threatened to murder her and held a gun to her head during an incident in 2009. Those are the kinds of allegations that a documentary would place front and center. Meanwhile, T.I.'s music career is actually experiencing a resurgence through all of this turmoil. T.I. is back in the Billboard Hot 100's Top 40 for the first time in more than a decade with Let Them Know, which attained a new peak of number 38 on the March 7th dated chart. Meanwhile, Let Him Know is one of the early successes of 2026. The song, part of T.I.'s retirement album, Kill the King, is presently number 1 at Urban Radio and on several charts. So, while 50 Cent is making menacing documentaries, T.I. is charting. The dispute has actually given T.I. more visibility than he has had in years. But visibility is a double-edged sword. While this could all be 50 Cent just blowing smoke and trolling, these are significant words coming from a person who just participated in a documentary against someone he doesn't care for. People said the same thing about the Diddy documentary. People said 5-0 was just teasing, and then the documentary came out and 21.8 million people viewed it in 6 days. The inebriated angle in all of this is the wild card. Boosie has footage of himself going at T. T has footage of himself going at Boosie. And 50 Cent has already shown he is willing to use all of it. Whether T.I. personally deliberately sent footage of Boosie to 50 Cent or whether 50 Cent is simply mining the internet for publicly available clips from their dispute, the result is the same. The content exists. It is on the record and in the hands of someone like 50 Cent, who has transformed documentary film into a weapon. That content can become something much larger than a few Instagram posts. 50 ultimately retreated and moved on from mocking T.I. and scrubbed his social media of all posts linked to the Harris family. But as 50 himself reminded everyone with his deleted post about the documentary, remember how silent he got before the Diddy do. Remember how quiet I got before the Diddy do. Dame thought I wasn't coming, he wrote. So, is there a surviving T and Tiny documentary on the way? This has not been officially confirmed. The rumor was put forward by Tasha K, who alleged that 50 Cent is developing a documentary concentrating on alleged drugging and assault accusations connected to T.I. 50 Cent has not verified it outright, but he also has not denied it. He posted about it, referenced his Diddy documentary playbook, and then purged the evidence. That is his pattern. That is how he operates. And in the midst of all of this, the footage from the T and Boosie beef rests there like an open filing cabinet. Clips of Boosie calling T a rat, clips of T telling stories about cooperating with law enforcement, and clips of both men going at each other on social media. If 50 Cent wanted to construct a documentary, he would not even need someone to send him footage. It is all out there. The internet never forgets. But the idea that T himself would submit footage of Boosie, a man he reconciled with, a man whose children are close to his own children, to 50 Cent for use in a documentary, that would be a distinct level. That would imply T.I. is not just defending himself against 50 Cent. That would indicate he is willing to burn bridges with Boosie to arm 50 Cent with ammunition. And if that is the case, then the situation between all three of these individuals is more complicated and more personal than any of them have publicly admitted. What we know for certain is this: 50 Cent is promoting a documentary. T says he is not afraid of it. Boosie and T.I. have a documented, recorded history of conflict, and 50 Cent has a track record of turning beefs and footage into the most watched content on the largest streaming platform in the world. Whether the footage was sent directly or simply collected from the internet, the pieces are in position. The only issue now is whether 50 Cent will do what he has done before and press record. And if the Diddy documentary taught us anything, it is this: when 50 Cent turns quiet, that is when you should pay the most attention.